Hello and welcome to our first attempt at narrated gameplay for WotC-20. We are doing this in post. I have not seen this game before, so we're hoping to get as close to live reaction as we can, as we would do in a larger tournament. I'll explain the specifications a little more later on, since the gameplay is already kicked off with an attached to Cleffa in the active for VenuCenter. But please leave comments down below. Let us know what works or doesn't work for this, and we'll go from there. So VenuCenter gets first turn, gets an attach on Cleffa and an immediate copycat, which is good off of turn 1 since you get a full grip off of the opponent. The matchup here is Dark Aura Tyranitar versus VenuCenter, as you can probably tell from the title. And we get a little bit of hand peep from T-Tar. Looks like a Gust and a Cyclone might be relevant, depending on what happens with the bench on VenuCenter's side. And we get nothing, so we could see Cyclone hit the execute. There it comes. And I did miss the flip on the Cleffa for VenuCenter. I don't think VenuCenter got a full hand, but we'll go right into an Eek from T-Tar and pass back to VenuCenter. Fan Club possibly off the top from VenuCenter, most likely, or else we probably would have seen it last turn. I'm going to start getting some bench filling going. Should be a pretty even matchup, but we'll see if a grass weakness will ultimately matter. Larvitar and Pupitar can come with the grass weakness. I'm not sure about all copies of them. Let's see. If you're not familiar, WotC-20 is base set to Skyridge. You probably know that if you're watching this. I'll try to keep this as much about the gameplay and active board state, and a little less about the deck building side of things, if possible. We'll see how time fills as the players move along, but so far, things are moving very quickly. We're getting a comp search already from VenuCenter, and we're seeing an Ivysaur pitched, so unclear what that'll bring out. I think the retreat cost on execute is just a single pip, so we'll see if this is actually a warp to get Cleffa to try to Eek here. Pitching the Ivysaur seems aggressive, but I'm not entirely sure what the split here is going to be from VenuCenter. Usually a stage 2 line like Bulbasaur, you'll see something maybe like a 4-3-3, so we'll see how that plays out. Looks like he might have just oaked. I was watching the attach on execute, but we have an ER to the Cyclone on Cleffa for Dark Aura. And now we'll see what execute can do. It does have 2 attacks. I'm not sure off the top of my head what those 2 are. But Baby Flip is a Tails, so not going to get anything on Cleffa right now. We have a Larvitar to bench, and it does have a grass weakness from what I can tell from camera quality here. Not sure how many attaches are in hand. Looks like we have a DCE and a Gust from Hand Peep. For the record, I also do not know prizing, and I don't believe I know who wins this match. We do post our tournament results in the Discord server, probably hyperlinked by Papa Jumpluff himself. And if you're interested in following us along there, there's usually a lot of discussion from a lot of familiar faces, either in these videos or otherwise. And let's see, we got a Gust out to the Bulbasaur. Not entirely sure what the threat on execute would be to warrant that as an aggressive Gust, but DCE onto Cleffa. Not sure if that'll be bounceable or if that's just a DCE committed to Cleffa for the rest of the game. But that'll give a fresh Eek to Dark Aura. So now it's back to VenuCenter. Bulbasaur on active isn't the worst. Ivysaur evolved on bench though. Maybe I can pull these cards up and see if I can see some of the text better. I'm not sure if the retreat cost goes up from base Bulbasaur to E-Reader Ivysaur, but we'll see. Looks like right now the gusting strategy is working. We've got pass back to Dark T-Tar. And now he's got a pretty big hand, so a lot could happen here. Centric goes down, which is a big deal. If Furret does come out, those DCEs and multi-attaches that Tyranitar can benefit from will be a lot easier to search, and putting cards back into the deck is just generally very useful. E-Reader Pupitar comes down. That's interesting. I do think that the grass weakness is probably elapsed. Let's see if I can pull something up off to the side here without clacking on a keyboard. I'm simultaneously going to try to do that while not missing gameplay footage. It looks like a Cyclone to bench on Pupitar is going to be the attach for turn, just slowly power it up. And an Eek, Bulbasaur still stuck in active, so that's a pretty big deal. An ER did hit the execute, so it's looking like not a ton of energy acceleration is happening. Although there are 3 grasses on board, and now with Venusaur down, we will probably see those grasses start to move. Item finder for, we'll see here. Wouldn't be surprised if it's something like Oak or Copycat. Mainly because, yep, there's the Copycat. Mainly because Clef on the bench, and the VenuCenter hand is a little tight right now. So there's Copycat supported for turn. I'm going to go back to the drawing board on my side and try to look up the e-reader Pupitar. It might make it easier for people to understand the text for new cards they haven't seen before. No cut tap. And into a fairly large Copycat. That's got to be, let's see, looks like about 7. And now we'll get to, let's see, there's the Executor. Called Shots is a very scary attack. Ooh, and another Ivysaur. So Evo lines are looking very good on the VenuCenter side. And we're going to gust out the Pupitar. Alright. Wow, very aggressive from VenuCenter. Didn't think they'd get an attack off this turn. I do think there's a water weakness on the Pupitar though. Let me look that up very quickly. Yeah, otherwise that would have been a KO. So fairly good sequence for VenuCenter. We'll see what can happen back on Dark Titar's side. And I should correct, it's not actually Dark Tyranitar, which is a fighting type. It would be Dark Aura, which is from E-Reader. Alright, ER to Ivysaur is going to help. And we're going to get a Warp off. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that Pupitar does have a water weakness, or else we would have seen it die or get knocked out. Ivysaur here had, based on the status, that would have been the 20 damage poison powder. Okay, yeah, tick between turns for 30. This all makes sense. Clef is back in thanks to the warp. And now we'll see if VenuCenter can keep up the pressure. We get an Elm, so no more trainers this turn for VenuCenter, but that shouldn't matter if they can find an attach and keep pressure going. There are 2 Clefas on board for Tyranitar, so knocking one out doesn't necessarily start applying as much pressure as if there was only one on line. But a full grip of 7 is never a bad thing to get. Even better would be finding another Venusaur for later in the round, where maybe right. I forgot VenuCenter runs 2 different Venusaurs here. So this one allows for double attaches per turn, and Body Slam is 40 damage, flip to para. So that is a very big deal. Ooh, and an ER to the DCE. So not a ton of energy on board now for Tyranitar, and 2 Venusaurs online, and an Executor to move things around, and a Cleffa in the back. So VenuCenter is now looking excellent. Went from an Ivysaur on board with 2 energy to really using, I think it's called Harvest Bounty is the ability on the E-Reader. The E-Reader Venusaur, so now we're just set up for body slamming. Did get a tail, so the Clef was fine. And now we have a Tyranitar down with some more energy attached. Gonna have to see, I think that was a Darkness energy attached. I'm not familiar with that artwork for the card, if that is a Darkness energy or if that was a, I think it is. But if Tyranitar can come in and start swinging, that would be ideal. Let's see. Now we see an item finder. Saw a vending mime go into the pile, which is a pretty big deal. Won't matter in this match, but newer card sees some play. Interesting to see it in Tyranitar. Alright, we have another warp going down. We did see a energy removal though, which was cool. So Harvest Bounty is unfortunately going to prevent a lot of acceleration or tempo swinging. Ideally, hitting energy removal on Venusaur is good early game, or good if you can stack them onto the Executor, but Harvest Bounty is just going to prevent that tempo from going too far. But we have a warp out. Now it looks like VenuCenter wants to move energy somewhere. They can always just put Cleffa up and then retreat back, so it doesn't really matter who they put up here. Looks like they're going straight for probably a solar beam on the Cleffa. Hits the tails again. So that's 2 tails now from VenuCenter against this Cleffa, giving Aura Tyranitar a chance to set up here, and that is a Darkness Energy, so now there's at least 2, and I believe a Warp, probably 1 attach away still from being able to do anything. Nope, apparently not. There are 4 attaches, I think. A Cyclone, a Warp, and 2 Darkness Energies, so the 2 Darkness Energies will give an extra 20 damage to this attack. And it hit a heads, which I believe does bench damage, so I also have to pull this card up to get an idea. Alright, Stamp. Coin flip, 50 plus 10 more damage, and then 10 to the opponent's bench. So yes, 50 flips to 60, an additional 20 from the Dark on Tyranitar. So big swing for 80. That can take out most things that matter. Venusaur is fine. We'll see if we see a center come down. It would be big to heal off a lot of the damage on not only the bench, but... Oh, actually the spread damage will prevent Pokemon Center from really getting away with too much trickery. Usually you can move all the energy to something that you can bench. We'll see if maybe VenuCenter off of eking will be able to find something to land on the bench. When something's on the bench, then they can use Energy Trans and get all their energy over to something clean, drop a center, and heal off all this damage. But for now, looks like Tyranitar is going to be swinging. Gusted in, that was an Exeggutor. The Exeggutor is down, and we have our first prize of the match. Prizes in this format can take a while to start getting off the ground, but then it usually does start to snowball from here. VenuCenter needs to try to not let this get too out of hand, but once Tyranitar is set up, it can be very, very hard to take out. It does have 30 tagged on it though now, so as far as the math to take it back out goes, you might see a crackback. They would have to find a way to do 90 from the VenuCenter side. That won't be easy. Sweet spot will be 40 on Body Slam, and then 60 is obviously for Solar Beam. We're nowhere near gusting for some weird bench call shot numbers though. So Town V goes. Saw a lot of grass energy in there. Not sure if there was an Ivysaur in there as well, or maybe the Exeggutor line. I did miss that, my apologies, but that is supported for turn on Town V. Town V we see is a staple in pretty much every deck, especially in these turns. This is a pretty early Town V, but that's a perfectly acceptable way to use it. More common to see it later, but early Town Vs can be very game-changing. Right into an Elm, which does not have the supporter tag, which is a great combo to have. But now there will also be no more trainers for turn. So we'll see where the attaches come from. Probably best to use Harvest Bounty if possible. Not sure what attack you would want to line up here. You're at least looking to two-shot this Tyranitar. And 120 is as big as HP gets in this format. You can obviously bolster with Metal Energy on certain decks, but 120 is premium. We're going to drop 2 grass onto Venusaur, so we're not going to... Well, we could still use Energy Trans to try to eke this turn on the VenuCenter side. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. Might as well while we can, because the Cleffa will not be long for this world with T-Tar bench damage, so you can't hide behind it either, but mainly need to keep Stamp from just dishing out 60 each turn. Or I'm sorry, 70 minimum, flip to 80. So 70 to 80, you're not going to want to do much other than Baby Stall probably. Prizes are a resource though, so we'll see. Fan Club off of Tyranitar's side, not sure what they're going to pull here. They really want to try to find a Furret, I assume, at this point. Maybe set up another Larvitar. Can only pull 1 Pokemon out of the deck though. You're probably looking to also just deck peep. Looks like they're taking a look right now, see what's left, how many comp searches are left, how many item finders are left, how much energy is left, give you an idea of what your prizes are. Figuring out the prizes through something like a comp search or a fan club is fairly common. It just makes the turns drag out sometimes. So seems like they have whatever information they're looking for. We have another Larvitar down. We'll see if that gets set up at all, if we're going to ride the whole match out on 1 T-Tar. Also, not for nothing, the Tyranitar art is excellent. Looks like they're thinking we do have from hand. Oh, a breeder is running this Tyranitar deck. That's interesting. We'll see if we get a breeder into Tyranitar. I can't tell if the card on the far left is another Tyranitar or not. It actually might be. Looks like we're actually going to comp search away the breeder anyway. Thought there was a T-Tar in hand, but probably just as fine to go with Lavatar into Pupitar and then into Tyranitar. I don't see a ton of upside to breedering here. Usually you want to get some sort of energy acceleration, but hard to excel when you only have 2 Sentrets on the bench. Alright, looks like they're pulling out a Cyclone. Okay, this is going to set up a kill for something. Possibly. Let's see, so math starts to matter quite a bit here. We can't knock out either of the Venusaurs with the Tyranitar. Okay, Tails. Alright, so just marking big damage, trying to keep pressure up before Harvest Bounty can get more ramp up. They are shy of getting an attack off, and 60 here, as we talked about, math-wise, isn't going to kill the Tyranitar either, not even close. Looks like we got some energy trans moving to the other Venusaur, and I wonder... Oh, okay, there's the Pokemon Center. So not hitting heads on that Tyranitar was a pretty big deal on the attack, otherwise that bend spread damage would have blocked the Pokemon Center. Now it moves back, and we might see a Solar Beam here, hard to say. And we just mark with a Solar Beam. Okay. So there's the first center. Usually VenuCenter runs 2 or 3, and then item finders you can usually find more copies of Pokemon Center. But that was a big swing turn. And now the Tyranitar has been marked for 90, so 30 more. Don't think Execute could come in and do that if it had to. But we also don't have a kill on board now for Tyranitar to try to look at. Alright, not sure what the roll was for there. Okay, just big damage up front. Now, I don't think... Now, they could pull on the Tyranitar side of things. Oh boy. Warp comes down with a Grass Energy. Now we're moving energy around. I was going to say, if you have a Furret... Okay, and there's the first downed Tyranitar of the match. First prize for VenuCenter. If off the top here you can get a Furret, and you can get a DCE off the Furret, you could swing for 30 and take out the Energy Trans Venusaur, but it's been benched. So that is protecting it, and now you have to deal with Body Slam up front. So back to the drawing board for Tyranitar to try to set up again. Very little energy on board. Now it's looking much better for VenuCenter. We have another Grass down. Looks like we're not going to use Harvest Bounty and into a Copycat. That is brutal. We are now dealing with a Copycatted Ecan. Great counter to Cleffa, honestly. It allows VenuCenter to just keep up with the hand power. Not sure what else they're going to be looking for here, though. It's probably just setting up maybe another Exeggutor would be good. Yep, there it is. Other than that, they're probably just sitting comfy. Another baby Tails. So Cleffa sticks around again. That's been 3 Tails, I think, if I'm counting correctly. But it looks like Tyranitar is going to need more help than that. Larvitar is on bench, but if Called Shot starts happening, there's going to be no setting up. The only good news is there's at least 2 Sentrets down, so a Furret should stick, but Called Shot from Exeggutor twice will take care of that. It looks like there's a lot of considerations going on for the Tyranitar side. Not sure what the best way out of this one would be. I think I saw the far left card was definitely a Tyranitar. I couldn't tell if it was the other e-reader art. I don't think it is. I think this is all Dark Aura all day. Really hungry for one of those Furrets. That would be much better when you have such a hand. Discarding for Comp Search. Alright, we'll see what they grab out of this. I would hope it would either be a Pupitar or a Furret to try to get some energy engine going. When you have Cleffa up, you can at least take advantage of your big hand size, trim it down, shape it, and consistently get energy. And energy has been a consistent problem here. Prize parity 5-5, so plenty of game left, although board state might prevent that from dragging out too long. Got some deck peeping going on as well from the computer search, so we'll see what they can pull out of it. I do see a Pupitar sitting in there. Hand check to see how it synergizes, so we might not even see an Eek this turn. And it is the Pupitar, so leaving the Furret in the deck. See how that works out. I don't think I've seen any during deck peeping either. It's possible they're prized, which would be really, really unfortunate. DCE on Pupitar is good, but even once Tyranitar is set up, everything's going to be looking like a two-shot. So you either need some more tails on Cleffa to keep the stall going, or you need Body Slam to not paralyze. So this isn't looking great. No Eek, good hand keep, makes sense. Now we're just seeing more Harvest Bounty spiral out of control here. Now Executor is getting set up. So VenuCenter is continuing to pull ahead in the setup race. And it looks like we're rolling for a Cleffa attack. Tails again. So many Cleffa tails. Not sure how much of an advantage that'll ultimately be giving back though. Tyranitar comes down. Dark Aura is back. That DCE is now 2 Darkness Energies. But there are no attack boosts from them, of course. That only comes from the 4 copies per deck special energy version of Dark Energy. And a Copycat. Not sure how many that copycatted for. Looks like VenuCenter's hand is at a 5. We'll see here. Decks are getting thin, you can kind of tell. Discard piles are starting to tower above them. So we are going to have to consider where Town Vs are and Item Finders are as we get towards this later game state. Still not a ton of prizing happening, which is very good to see. Or at least good for Tyranitar, not for VenuCenter. There's Eco Gym, that would have been helpful a bit ago. So Eco Gym will prevent those DCEs from getting energy removed, and a fighting energy comes down. So Tyranitar is almost back online, has some good Eco Gym protection from energy removal. I do believe VenuCenter runs energy removal. What deck doesn't? Energy removal is very popular as a standard, and there's the heads on the Cleffa. Took a while. We could have seen all the prizes taken from there off that one Cleffa. And another comes right back up for Tyranitar. It was a matter of time before that happened. Now we'll see what they get off the top here. We need a good hand for Tyranitar. Getting attacks back online is definitely going to be the priority. A lot of energy on the field though right now for Venusaur. Harvest Bounty putting in incredible amounts of ramp. And there's a Furret. Okay. Furret online in a full hand. So Tyranitar will get an attack off this turn. I'm not sure if Tyranitar is running Goldberry, what kind of sustain they have, or healing. It will be important when considering the attrition war here. I do think that right now, VenuCenter on board still looks favored to take all the prizes ultimately. And a Recycle Energy comes in. So more removal, or more protection against removal. And here comes a big stamp. Heads, okay. Now, there are no Darkness Energies, I think. Unless there is... No, it's a Fighting Energy. Okay, so there are no Darkness Energies, so that just did the normal 50... 50 plus heads? So I think there should be 60 on the active for the Harvest Bounty Venusaur. Unless I'm missing something. I'm not sure if that's 10 mark damage missed on the active, but that's what happens with GamesIRL, not at the shop, just, you know, in real life. More attached to active for Venusaur, but only 1 Grass Energy. They're probably trying to set up some Executor shenanigans here, but I wouldn't bring it in necessarily against this T-Tar that's going. Likely going to have to risk losing a Venusaur. Body Slam would be very risky. Wow, another Copycat. It's just really, really thin decks getting down here, but I don't think it'll be possible for Tyranitar to stall their way out of this one if it comes down to that. We know we already saw Town V from VenuCenter, but likely that won't matter. Trying to figure out where to move the grass to right now. It goes to the Executor, which makes sense. And I assume we're going to see a Body Slam here. Could get a very big Paralyze. We'll see. We do see the paralysis, but we also have a ferret, so you can put 2 back in the deck, grab a warp, see if it matters. So remember, this Tyranitar has 120 health. You still have to deal another 80. Nothing on board can do that right now. And if it's active, Called Shot cannot target it. You could discard cards for the explosion move off of Executor, but not an easy path to killing this Tyranitar right now. Another heads. Now the Cleffa's looking dangerous. And that also marks damage on the new Cleffa. So now, once again, Pokemon Center is offline. And there finally goes down a Venusaur. I'm waiting for Tyranitar to prize up. Unless... that couldn't have been their first prize of the game. Okay, we'll review that later. Not that it's looking great anyway, but prizes remain 5-4. I could have sworn Tyranitar got a prize earlier off of a Gust kill. So I would think there would be a prize there. The 10 damage missed. What I thought was 10 damage missed earlier didn't seem to matter, because that was the Venusaur that is now in the bin. But regardless, let's see, 40... Okay, so lots of decisions here for VenuCenter. While they're shuffling, I will note that there is a full heal energy out on the Tyranitar. Super fun card, also good for Ferret. Who needs warps if you have full heals? Not commonly seen, but status has fluctuated in and out of our meta enough where I think that is a good consideration while deck building. And now let's see if VenuCenter has their turn figured out off of a fresh hand. Let's see, good damage spread all around. Spread damage turning off Pokemon Center is a big deal unless they can bench something. Oh, I completely missed that. It wasn't even VenuCenter's turn. My apologies there. And Goldberry heals up the Tyranitar. Okay. I do want to check if the prizing should be like this. Could have sworn Tyranitar had gusted for an early prize with the first setup Tyranitar. Alright, and now we've got some energy movement going on here. Okay. Venusaur comes back up to active. We can mark 60 with Solar Beam. That will be a 2-shot on the Tyranitar. The Tyranitar cannot kill the Venusaur. Alright, looks like they actually did go for a center off of a fresh bench drop. That makes sense. Copycat from Tyranitar's side. We've seen a ton of Copycat this game. If you're a fan of the card, that is... usually does see plenty of representation, but I feel like I've seen it played like 4 or 5 times this match. We'll see what they pull off the top. Probably might need to consider using Ferret to put cards back in at this point. I believe there's only 3 cards left in deck for VenuCenter? That can't be correct. It might be correct. We're running out of time in this match. I don't know if we're going to go to prizes. This might be a deck out scenario. Counting cards in deck right now on Tyranitar's side. You really don't want to lose that Tyranitar, though, or else you're forced to kind of go with deck out. Now, depending on how many cards are in hand for VenuCenter... oh, and there's a warp. We're going out to a Cleffa. Looks like we are going to try to do some stalling. Depending on what the move here is for VenuCenter, let's see how many cards in hand. Looks like they have 4 cards in hand. Can't tell from shadowing, maybe 5, but if they don't play any more cards, they could technically try to loop some eking with Cleffa to not deck out, but then they also can't necessarily attack. Okay, 3 off the top. They could loop Cleffa. It's worth noting. Looks like we're just going for attacks here. Heads on the Cleffa. That's not great to see if you're trying to stall. In comes another Cleffa. 3 prizes down now for VenuCenter. And Tyranitar has some decisions to make. Looks like they're going for the deck out. Certainly attacking here won't get you very far. That last Pokemon Center was crippling. One card in deck left for VenuCenter. This could be a deck out. Hit another heads. They're either looking for Item Finder or they're, let's see, VenuCenter can get out of this with Town V, Item Finder into Town V, or eking their hands back in if they're over 7, which it looks like they are. There's the last card from the deck. Looks like Furt's just going to stand in. Ooh, a Gust on the Tyranitar. There's the Item Finder. That's probably going to be game here. Brutal way to finish. Looked like a deck out was possible. Item Finder into Town V will definitely seal it though. Yep, no more stalling here. Looks like we're going to scoop up cards. Tyranitar forfeits the remainder of the match. That was a good bout. Good calls both sides. And we are just about done here, so thank you for watching. Let us know if this worked for you or not. This was all done in one take, so have a good one, gamers.